Okay, so I have decided to document my fertility journey. I've seen a lot of women, um, and even husbands with their wives, um, do this, for quite a few years. And just kind of thought it was cute and never thought that I would find myself doing this as well. Um, so I don't even know if I'm going to post this anywhere. I may just keep it for myself um, as more of a therapeutic um, release, I guess, of emotions and thoughts because there's just a lot going on right now. My husband and I, Chris, got married October 2nd, 2021. And we never really prevented a baby from happening. Right, like starting honeymoon night, we didn't take birth control, and I had been off of it for a while. I was on it previously because of my polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I had gone off of it just because I thought it doesn't really matter. My periods are not happening anyways, so I'm just going to go off of it and see if I can lessen, the weight that I'm gaining and all the other negative side effects. So, and Chris wasn't in the picture then. This was probably, I would say, like at least 6 months, maybe a year before I even met him. After I had done that, I talked to my doctor and I wasn't able to start my period. So she had given me Provera. You take it for 10 days, and then after that, you're supposed to be able to start your period. Thankfully, I did. And ever since then, it's been regular, consistently regular, which has been fantastic. So I say all that to say, as far as we were aware, everything was fine. Chris has a child with someone else, so obviously it seems like he's in working order. From our wedding day on, we've never prevented, the possibility of a baby. And, there's so much, like so many articles and stuff like that, if your period's regular, then you're ovulating and you have to do it at this time and you have to take your temperature for your basal body temperature and you have to do ovulation tests. And, after you have sex, you should keep your legs up for 15 minutes or only have sex in this position or, just so many articles. And with my period, like every time that it would be like the week before I would expect it, or even like a week and a half before I would expect it, I'd start to get like this food aversion, and it would, I could only do certain foods and textures, and I would struggle with feeling nauseated and like headaches, and my boobs would be really sore. And so a couple times it tricked me into taking a pregnancy test, and of course it was negative, which was heart-wrenching. And so they said, wait for a year, you're 33. At the time, 32, now 33. And so, you're not advanced maternal age, so you're going to need to wait for a year before we're willing to do anything. I feel like that's bogus, but whatever. So I actually didn't wait a full year because I just figured something was wrong. If my periods were coming normally, minus when I was incredibly stressed, so that would have been June, and then this past month, where it was a little bit late, but it still came. I just felt like something was off. So I had scheduled an appointment and went in September. Met with my doctor, and she's like, well, I said, I really know that I'm not ovulating. I said, I've taken those tests, I've taken my body temperature, all these things that they tell you to do, all these herbs and all these supplements and vitamins. And I said, it's just not happening. And with PCOS, you usually don't ovulate regularly. She says, well, she said, I could give you that medicine. She said, however, if for some reason you can't ovulate, or the egg can't be released to where it needs to go, giving you this medicine could potentially give you cancer. So she's like, I'd like to do, some blood tests, and HSG, long name. I don't remember what it is. I said, okay, fantastic. So, she says, it needs to happen on this day. You call me the first day of your period. We'll set everything up. Great. So, of course, waiting for your period's like eternity at this point. But my period came and I called them and they said, okay, we have you scheduled for October 3rd. Get your blood work drawn then too, and you'll do your HSG testing. And they said, it's not fasting blood work, so make sure you eat all that. Okay, great. So I have, of course, am part of a PCOS and trying to get pregnant group on Facebook. And so I kind of searched, HSG. That's the short name of it. And most of the women were like, yeah, I took some Tylenol before. It really wasn't that bad, like minor cramping. And, I've had a kidney stone that I thought was going to kill me. I have had, some surgery on my gallbladder. I have nerve pain in my feet. So I'm thinking the amount of pain that I've been through, that's not going to be anything. I can handle that. I've had really bad cramps before from PCOS, all of that, whatever. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to make sure I eat a meal because I said make sure that you eat a meal beforehand and then also take like a pain reliever. So I took Tylenol arthritis. So got there, got my blood drawn first. No big deal. They got in, got out. Went up to my testing at Worcester Hospital. Super, super nice people. Of course, the doctor was in a delivery because that always happens to me. My OBGYN is always in some type of delivery or C-section or something, so my appointment's never on time. But that's fine. That just means that you have a really good doctor because they're always busy. And I do have a fantastic OBGYN. So I waited and waited, played on my phone, not super nervous or anything. And they explained to me, Dr. Mark Anthony is going to come in and she's going to be the one that puts the catheter up into the cervix. You're going to feel some cramping and then the dye is put in to make sure that your tubes are flowing, your fallopian tubes are flowing, which is how, the egg gets down and can reach the sperm and then implant. And they said, I have a pad laid out for you, all of this. And I'm like, okay, great, fantastic. So I'm sitting there in this gown that doesn't cover me because anybody that knows me knows I'm plus size. And so super awkward, but whatever. And they said that the x-ray technician, because it's an x-ray, will be coming in and looking at the images while Dr. Mark Anthony does, down below, all that fun stuff. So I'm like, okay, fine. And, Dr. Mark Anthony's probably one of the sweetest women besides Dr. Vandeveld, who I adore. And so she comes in finally and she's like, all right, lay down. She gets me positioned. She's like, it is going to cramp. And she's like, I'm so sorry. She said, but it should subside. And I'm like, okay, fantastic. So she puts it in and it's uncomfortable. Nothing that I couldn't handle, I kept breathing and, the x-ray tech came in and, she's like, okay, I'm going to start to push the, dye. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so I had the nurse kind of up here by my head because I was laying down. And then she was down there and the x-ray tech was kind of up, looking at the monitor and, she starts pushing it. And I think I'm like, that's super uncomfortable. And, I start to get kind of loud, which I never do. I'm kind of I just kind of forget to breathe when I'm in pain, which is not necessarily good either. But I remember laying there and, I remember laying there screaming. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to cry through this. Because that was the most excruciating pain I've ever been through. And I remember just thinking, it's fine because once this is done, a lot of women get pregnant because it kind of flushes the system and you get things moving. And I just thought, it's fine. Just get through it. She's like, it's okay, and I'm trying so hard not to scream because it's in a hospital and there's other people around and I didn't want anybody to think I was dying. So she stops and they give me a tissue and I apologize for being so vocal. And she's like, it's okay. And she's like, the reason it hurts so bad, she said, is because both of your tubes are completely blocked. So there was nowhere for the dye to go. Excuse me. She said, unfortunately, it just hit blockage, which is why it was so painful. And she said I kept trying to push it, see if I could unblock it. She said, but I couldn't do it. And it was at that point that she told me our only option would be IVF. She said, it's nothing you've done. And I just thought to myself, clearly it's something I've done, because it just doesn't make any sense otherwise. I, of course, drove myself to the appointment. Got dressed. There was a lot of blood, but they said that was normal, and it hurt quite a bit. I said I could take all the time that I wanted to calm down, but I didn't want to be in that room anymore. So I awkwardly walked out of the freaking hospital with my eyes acting like somebody had just died. But to me, that was a death sentence. My husband's very old school. And as most of you know, IVF is tens of thousands of dollars. And that's just if you get it once and it works once. And, you know, we work hard. We earn good money. But you know, not the type of money that we can just drop $25,000 and continue to go. She told me before I left, she said, we'll make a referral to a fertility doctor. We'll send over your test. They can take a look and everything. So I walked out to my car, and actually it was my mom's car, because about 2 weeks before I totaled my car, so great time. And I was without a car, so I had to borrow my mom's car for a little bit. And I called my mom and she didn't answer. Chris was working. He couldn't talk. He works factory. I thought, okay. So I text my sister, because it's like a minute till 1, and she has lunch from noon to 1, and I don't hear anything. And then my mom calls back, and I tell her what happened, tell her what they said, and cry, because I knew this was it. Like, so sorry that my husband was going to say, I can't do this. Not the marriage or anything like that, but, you know, the IVF and the trials and the tests and the money. You know, so of course my mom's like, oh my gosh, I'll be there. Like, I can have somebody drive me. And I'm just tell her, like, there's absolutely no point. Like, there's literally nothing you can do. I'm gonna calm myself down, and I'm gonna go back home. I ended up not working the rest of the day. I went home and napped a little bit. Chris came home, and I had to tell him, unfortunately. This time we were looking at houses too. We found one to buy. So not only was I carless and we had to get a new car, I was probably going to have to spend thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars if I wanted a baby. And we had to decide where the money goes that we have in our savings. Well, I reached out to my group on Facebook and, you know, just explained that I didn't really have anybody else to talk to, and I didn't know what to do. You know, and of course, some woman said, I don't understand why people say that they can't do IVF, because of the money, because people buy $200,000 houses, $20,000 cars. And I commented on her post and I said, I get it. But I said, a place to live and a way to get to my job, that takes precedence. That's something that has to happen. A baby doesn't have to happen. A baby is a desire. And so that was just kind of like the icing on the cake of not getting support from that. And so Chris came home then and I explained to him and I just apologized profusely. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, here's what they want to do. And I said, I just don't want to talk about it right now. I just think he didn't know what to say. I mean, he wasn't rude or anything, but this is new for him too. I mean, he has a baby, a little girl, Linnell. So when we were talking about it a couple days later, just letting him know, I had looked up why my tubes could be blocked. They said history of like sexual diseases, and I'm like, never. Every time I got a pap smear, they always ask me, and I'm like, you might as well. Like, I don't know. Like, I just always did it. And so I knew that I hadn't had any of that. I did have a couple abnormal pap smears in the past, and I've had colposcopies, and so I'm like, and then all the cells came back fine. So I'm like, okay, I don't understand. And then it said like endometriosis, and I'm like, but I don't have that pain. Like, I just don't. So I don't know. In the back of my mind, I know that Chris wants a baby with me. But I also know that as far as the money's concerned, like, that's not a priority for him. He's happy. He's complete. He has his child. He has a wife, a good job. So in his eyes, he's complete. Anything extra is not necessary. I've explained that to him. And I said, it's not wrong for him to feel that way, but he has to understand that I will not feel that way. Because as much as I love Linnell, she will never be my child. She will always choose her mom over me, and that's okay. I never want her to be put in a situation where she ever even has to make a choice. I'm the backup support, I love her and I will always be there for her, but it's not the same. My mom understands that. She's dealt with that before. So it's nice to have her understanding it. So anyways, we finally get a call from the fertility specialist. We're going through RGI right now, Dr. Zoltan. Been very kind people. I went and used a lot of information. So she convinced me to do another HSG with some Valium to hopefully calm my nerves, but also to potentially calm my body. She stated that sometimes when that's done, the uterus continues to contract and it reads a false negative, like false blockage. To be completely honest, that may be true, but I still believe that my tubes will likely be blocked. So I went in, did my test, got my internal ultrasound, also not fun. Got about 10 vials of blood drawn, 20 different tests, genetic testing, all of the regular fertility tests, any contagious disease testing in case that we do have to go to, IVF. I've had to talk Chris into giving a sperm analysis, which is happening tomorrow, the 7th of November, and give blood. He's been traumatized by that in the past, and so it's been a lot of talking back and forth and not pressuring him, but letting him know, like, if he doesn't want to do this, then we can only go so far, that type of thing, and letting him make his mind up, and he has done that, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So we're just kind of waiting at this point. I have my HSG testing again on Veterans Day, 11/11. We're praying for good news. We're not holding our breaths. But thinking about it is traumatizing enough. So I'm really trying to keep my nerves and anxiety in check. I've also changed like 90% of my meds. Back on a prenatal. I've had to change my blood pressure medication. I had to go off my gabapentin, which was for my incredibly bad feet and nerve pain. So I'm in a lot of pain. I'm not sleeping well, which doesn't help. I got off my Ambien. A couple of vitamins I had to stop taking too. So it's been a big change. This month's period was very late. I've read up some stuff on changing meds and stuff like that, and I think it was probably because of that and like the stress. So, that's not fun to deal with either. We're doing a lot of praying. My family's doing a lot of praying. We haven't really told a ton of people. Partially because I feel like a failure. Like I did something wrong, and so I'm trying to come to this realization that it's gonna be okay. Maybe this isn't God's plan. I don't know. Like, I'm just preparing for the worst at this point, because if I prepare for the best and it turns out to be the worst, I can't take much more of that. And so for me, it's just easier. Just that my tubes are blocked. IVF is the answer, and then from there we have to decide, do we go through with it? Do we get a cheaper program? Can we do that with the distance? There's a place in New York. I'm supposed to have foot surgery, so there's just a lot going on right now. And I feel like kind of alone, just because no one in my immediate family has had to do this. And Chris doesn't understand. He just, he thinks that what he has to go through is a lot. And to him it is, and I'm not discounting that at all, but he has no idea the psychological and physical toll that this takes. So I just keep reminding myself to be patient with him and everyone else that just says, hope for the best. Well, hoping for the best didn't get me anywhere before, so for right now, we pray. And we'll see from there. After all this testing is done, it takes about 2 weeks, they said. So hopefully, like, the end of November, we might have some kind of an update. We'll see what happens. So my hope is to continue these videos, because if for nothing else, it's therapeutic for me, to stop thinking about it over and over and over in my head. Once I say it, get it out. It's better. At least that's my hope. So, we'll just keep going, because that's what we do. That's what the Bakers do. That's what the Niles do. So, both sides.